So a police officer in Chicago who identifies as white says that he has the right to change his race, just like other officers have the right to change their genders. Let's talk about it. Now, if you've been following this channel before, we did a video called Transracial Woman Fired. Should transracial be treated as transgender? And many of you said, yes, it just makes sense. Matter of fact, The Breakfast Club, the most liberal show in America, also was conflicted about whether you should treat transracial the same as transgender. Check it out.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's just people hating on her that are mad at her because she's transracial.
She's now transracial. Yeah,
That's right.
She's transracial.
She
man.
does things she does
stop
not.
with that transracial
She
stuff.
is transracial.
There's no such thing as transracial.
She does things that she does not have to do.
There's no such thing as transracial, but it's such thing as transgender.
Hey, shut up! You shut up.
Is that what it is?
Hush.
No, I'm saying, how can it be a transgender community and transracial?
It's enough. It's
Y'all better let people be black.
Now, for those of you who don't know, they're talking about Rachel Dolezal, who is a white woman who decided to identify as a black woman and live her life as if she was black.
Rachel even received a full scholarship to the historically black college, Howard University, which never inquired about her ethnicity on her application. Rachel married an African-American man, Kevin, with whom she had a son, who posted a video about their love.
I wanna miss you for the rest of my life.
Later, Rachel would post Facebook pictures of one of her adopted brothers as her own son, referred to her natural curls, and identified herself on a job application as part black. As professor of Africana Studies at Eastern Washington University, Rachel was clear.
I would definitely say that yes, I do consider myself to be black.
There's also the story of this councilman, Ryan Webb, who not only said he identifies as being black, but also says he identifies as being a woman. He's got the best of both worlds.
A councilman is coming out as transgender and a woman of color. Delaware County Councilman Ryan Webb announced that he now identifies as an Indian American woman. Since that announcement, he's received some support, but a lot of backlash, many calling him childish, despicable, even calling for things like execution. In a statement Webb gave to ITMate, he says, quote, "It is unfortunate that I cannot simply be given the same space and respect to explore my identity that so many of those targeting me demand for themselves. It's possible I may change my mind down the road. The process of identity exploration is complex, and oftentimes at the end of our personal journey, we end right back where we started." Webb goes on to tell ITMate this is just his true, authentic self.
So now we get to today's news, where this cop says that he has a right to change his race, just like officers have the right to change their gender. Think about it. He was born a male, and he says, I want to be a female. That's okay. But if he's born white, and he says, I want to be black, that's a problem. Why? What's the limiting principle here? Is it okay to change your sex but not change your race? And if you think about it, if you're born a man and then transition to being a woman, there are benefits. Like, for instance, competing against women in sports and getting those benefits that women get when it comes to economic opportunity. For instance, there are certain loans and government programs only for women. And the same thing when it comes to being a minority. There are certain benefits and government programs that are available to certain minority groups, specifically if you're black. So now if you can just identify as a particular group, then you can get those benefits. So a Chicago police officer is suing the city to change its race on his official records after the department said it would allow officers to freely change their genders to match their identity. So his argument seems to be that, hey, if you allow men to say they're women, you should allow white people to say they're black people. There's functionally no difference. Mohammed Youssef, 43, said in a federal civil rights lawsuit filed last week that he's looking to change from Caucasian, as he currently identifies as Egyptian and African American. However, the Chicago Police Department is not allowing him to change his race. Now, from my experience, most people from the Middle East actually identify as Caucasian and not black. And that, I think, is due to the proximity toward Europe and away from the African continent. Now, I do know some Egyptians who also identify as Caucasian and not black. But in our vernacular, this person who says he's Egyptian also wants to identify as African American, which I think may be appropriate because Egypt is in Africa. So someone from Egypt is technically African American. Matter of fact, he's more African American than I am because I've never been to Africa. It's not my homeland. I'm American. And we don't call our white American citizens European Americans, right? That doesn't make any sense. They're not from Europe. They're from here. So technically, I understand his plight. Hey, I'm as African American as it gets. I'm literally Egyptian, which is in Africa. So technically, I don't think he's actually trying to change his race, but better identify his race. Hey, it says African American. I'm from Egypt. That's in Africa. I'm an American citizen, obviously because he's a police officer. Police officers have to be American citizens. I'm a police officer, so list me as African American. Now, this lawsuit comes as the police department allows an officer's gender identity to be corrected to match their lived experience. Now, Yusef wants to change his designation from Caucasian to African American because he says it's hurting his career advancement within the department. Because the majority of the department is black, the mayor is black, and the police commissioner is black, that his opportunities to move up the ranks are going to be hampered if he's identified as Caucasian and not African American. See, according to the lawsuit, Yusef alleges that he has been repeatedly overlooked for promotions due to his Caucasian race. These promotions, he claims, have been given to other minority applicants, with only a few of them going to Caucasian applicants. Now, in the police department, to move up in rank from patrol officer to sergeant, generally you have to take a promotional exam. Now, Yusef, a 20-year veteran of the force, says that the Chicago Police Department's promotional exams benefit minority candidates, even if they don't score well, because the department wants to promote diversity. Now, Yusef claims that he scored in the first promotional tier of the sergeant's exam in 2019, but he was not promoted and still hasn't received the promotion. But since that time, he alleges in the lawsuit that he's seen over 75 merit promotions to sergeants, with less than 5 going to candidates who identify as Caucasian. Now, this is a little shocking because 50% of the police department in Chicago is white, but only 5% of the promotions go to white candidates. Now, if we reverse that and said, hey, in this police department, 50% of the officers are black, but only 5% of the promotions go to black officers, there would be a problem. But in today's day and age, reverse racism isn't racism, which to me makes no sense. Racism is racism. Now, despite Yusef's exemplary qualifications and the purported race-neutral policy of the merit system, Yusef has been repeatedly bypassed for promotion in favor of less qualified candidates based on their race. Specifically, African-American officers, some of whom had disciplinary issues and were not suitable for the responsibilities of sergeant, Yusef said in his complaint. Now, I'm going to keep it real, people. If I was Yusef's lawyer, I'd be filing a discrimination lawsuit based on race, because I think it's all here, right? Only 5% of the officers who are promoted to sergeant are white, even though 50% of the department is white. And the fact that he has this perfect record, essentially, and officers who have disciplinary issues and lower test scores are promoted to sergeant over him obviously shows that there's an issue. And I think instead of him just calling it what it is, and his lawyer just calling it what it is, hey, this is a race-based system that's unconstitutional, he says, well, listen, just let me change my race because, hey, I'm from Egypt, so technically I am African American, and that's the way I'll get around this issue. Now, Yusef argues that back in 2004, when he joined the department only offered 3 choices for race, either Caucasian, black, or Hispanic. And he chose Caucasian because it was the thing that best identified him at the time. But now the department offers 9 different racial designations to incoming officers. So he's saying that, hey, let him choose amongst this new list. Before you only gave me 3, now you gave me 9. But the department has a blanket prohibition in changing your racial identity. But you can change your gender. Now, after repeatedly being rejected, Yusef claims that he was told that he would first have to produce a DNA test before he could change his race on his official records. He then provided the results of a 23andMe genetic test, which showed his heritage and race. But the department ultimately said it is not possible to change his official records as he claims. Now, just imagine the department made you do this to change your gender. Right? I need you to go take a physical test to prove that you are the gender that you want to identify with. That's not legal at all, right? They would say, no, that's unethical, that's immoral, it's a human rights violation. Now, this guy who happens to be African, wants to change his race to African American, had to provide a genetic test to show that he was in fact from Africa. The test did show that he was Egyptian from Africa. They ultimately denied him. That is insane. This is crazy. All right, so now I'm going to ask you to play judge. If you were the judge and this case came before you and you hearing these facts, would you allow this officer to change his racial designation from Caucasian to Black or even to African American because of what you've heard? Now, I think there's a lot of different issues here, but for me, I would definitely do it. And matter of fact, let's say if he was just a white guy. He wasn't from Egypt. He was from Sweden. I think I would do it too because I don't see the difference. I honestly do not see the difference from someone saying they're transracial and someone saying they're transgender. But hopefully one of you will be able to educate me in the comment section and say, Nate, this is why it's different. This is the logical reasoning to help you realize that being transgender is different than being transracial in this substantive way. Because to be honest with you, to me, it seems like it's the exact same thing. But let me know how you feel in the comment section. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.